In the early morning hours of November 21st, 2016, a home located at 103 East Columbia Street in Flora, Indiana, caught fire, killing 4 young children. The case itself was ripe with investigative errors and was hidden behind a veil of secrecy by county and state officials, who quickly determined that it had been deliberately set. For years, rumors circulated about what might have happened that night and what course the investigation had taken, though police remained tight-lipped about the ordeal. In 2019, when asked about the state of the unsolved arson homicide, Doug Carter, the superintendent of the Indiana State Police, recklessly seemed to imply blame at the mother of the victims as to why the case was not moving forward. These comments led mother and victim Galen Rose to be scrutinized and suspected by the public in her community. After months of public suspicions and harassment, she abandoned the area altogether to start a new life away from the town she once called home. Her choice to leave brought out more criticism from Flora citizens and re-victimized her and her family again and again. Even to this very day, Carter has not publicly reversed the damage he's caused in his media interview. And the state's refusal to comment on the case's status has only led to more confusion than anything. Finally, after nearly 6 years of silence, case documents began to leak due to Ms. Rose's lawsuit against the landlords and the insurance companies that paid them out after the arson. These documents tell the tragic story about a cover-up of biblical proportions and the county's pathetic attempt to protect the culpability of those involved, or worse, protect the arsonists from justice. It is my hope with this video to draw some much-needed attention to this case and to expose the miscarriage to the public. So let's sit back. Let's look into the Flora fire. In all of my time examining this county and its various preposterous works, the most egregious is in the way that it's dealt with the Flora case. The obvious collusion between corrupt officials has never been so apparent as it is in this investigation. The obvious disregard for the surviving victim, a mother who lost everything that morning, at the hands of someone with an agenda is startling. Rumblings of racism and cultural prejudice between law enforcement and the families of the girls make this homicide even more tragic to look at. The Flora case is the living embodiment of evil in our world and should stand to humiliate anyone involved with this investigation, especially when you begin to dig into the official records of the state, records that reveal a tragic story, one that begins at shortly before 3:30 a.m. that morning. Mother Galen Rose is awakened by smoke in her bedroom on the first floor of the structure. She attempts to get her children by getting upstairs, but the smoke is gathered in the staircase to their second-story bedroom, and it makes it impossible to breathe. After calling to them, she is forced to escape. At this time, Flora was also experiencing a power outage in the area, making lighting difficult. The next-door neighbor, Elizabeth Ayers, is awakened by the sound of a smoke alarm at about 3:25 a.m. She exits her home and goes outside, where she witnesses Ms. Rose outside screaming for help. The neighbor, being the cousin of landlord Josh Ayers, calls Josh to notify him of the fire before calling 911. The call between them lasts 6 minutes, as smoke is billowing from the East Columbia home. During this time, it is unknown what they spoke about or why she chose to call him before calling the authorities. The first call with dispatch is made at 3:34 a.m. In the background of the 911 recording, a male voice is heard asking where the children are and demanding a flashlight. It is believed that this is the voice of another neighbor, Adam Ayers, also a relative of the landlord. It is also rumored that off-duty Flora Fire Chief Adam Randall was at the scene, standing nearby as well. At this point, a second 911 call is made, reporting the fire. At 3:35 a.m., emergency and fire rescue is finally dispatched. Carroll County Sheriff's Deputy Drew Yoder hears the call and speeds towards the home. From dispatch, it takes about 30 seconds for Flora Police Officer Josh Dysinger to arrive on the scene, where he is met by Ms. Rose, hysterical on the lawn of her home. Seconds later, Deputy Yoder also arrives. Both men enter the home and are met with intense smoke and no visibility, neither of which are wearing any protective gear. Quickly, both officers are forced to give up their attempts to save the children. Smoke and heat is pronounced, though there is little visible flame. State investigator Michael Vergon later determined that the fire had become ventilation limited, which resulted in a poorly oxygenated burn. This caused the fire to burn and smolder slowly with a lot of smoke but little flames. At 3:38 a.m., Dysinger radios dispatch to tell them that they cannot get in due to smoke. At the same time, Deputy Yoder drove his vehicle to Flora Fire Department to get oxygen packs. For whatever reason, fire rescue was still not ready after several minutes. Yoder appealed for them to hurry to the scene and rushed back. He arrived within a minute. Upon arriving, he and Dysinger begin to put their oxygen on as the first fire truck arrives. They are immediately told not to enter the property due to safety issues by fire personnel. Yoder ignores this and goes onto the front porch as rescue begins to prepare to attempt to get the children out. It becomes instantly obvious to several firemen after a window is broken that it's causing flame to ignite in front areas of the home. This flame, however, is easily controlled by the hose. For whatever reason, the cousin of landlord Josh Ayers, a neighbor of the property, is seen throwing rocks through the upper windows at the back of the house. Adam Randall is also seen breaking windows around the house at this time. Yoder enters the house against the advice of fire rescue and is nearly instantly engulfed in flames, as the sudden oxygenation of the home due to windows being broken out suddenly ignites the incendiary liquids. Yoder is heard screaming. Dysinger enters in an attempt to save him, but both men are overtaken by the flames and smoke. Firemen enter quickly and save both men. As a result of this, the children are not tended to fast enough. Both officers are hospitalized, Yoder with more significant injuries. The tragedy of this story shows several complicated and questionable decisions by deputies Yoder and Dysinger, as well as Fire Chief Adam Randall and neighbor Adam Ayers. Though reports are silent on this, landlords Josh Ayers and Troy Helderman arrived at the scene sometime shortly before Yoder arrived back with oxygen masks. They were reportedly standing with Randall and Ayers nearby. The second is the choice to break windows as the fire smoldered inside, with victims needing to be saved still in the premises. It makes little sense that Adam Ayers was breaking windows, and certainly makes no sense why Chief Randall, a seasoned fireman, would assist him in doing so, knowing the way that fire and oxygen works. And lastly, why was Chief Randall first on the scene of an arson, something the county redacted from documents? In fact, the county likewise is paying to retain a lawyer for him using appropriated county funds, something they refuse to explain. Might this also be the reason for their refusal to release the 911 tapes? I believe so. Both Randall and Adam Ayers made several attempts to enter the premises before Yoder and Dysinger even arrived during the initial 911 call. The call picked up both men asking for flashlights, speaking in the background with Galen Rose, the mother, asking where the children were, It's unknown what the tapes picked up, or what secrets they may hold, but to this day the county is paying thousands of dollars yearly to retain a lawyer for him and to fight any pending civil litigation concerning the release of these 911 tapes, something the state public access director even ruled as a violation. Then you have several points made in a whistleblower letter sent to Ms. Rose's lawyer for discovery in her civil case against the landlords. The whistleblower appears to have knowledge as though they were on scene as fire personnel, and I believe that this is exactly who wrote this letter. A disgruntled fireman who disagreed with the state declaring both Yoder and Dysinger heroes when it's clear that they broke several protocols and inevitably caused fire rescue to have to save them instead of the children when the deputies weren't dressed or prepared to enter. It is reported also that Yoder's uniform had accelerants found on it, and that the bodies were removed from the house and brought down to Flora Fire Station before a coroner or medical examiner even saw the scene, something Indiana law expressly forbids. This case is infuriatingly obvious with who needs to be investigated. These people include Adam Randall, the landlords Josh Ayers and Troy Helderman, neighbors Elizabeth and Adam Ayers, and deputies Yoder and Dysinger. Most compelling is the county's fixation on protecting Adam Randall legally from the repercussions of the fire, and why they are redacting his name from official records, even preventing the release of the 911 tapes with him on them. Even more alarming is the fact that his wife filed for divorce the day after the arson occurred. Might she be aware of something? Look, I don't want to mince words here when I say this, but these people look extremely suspicious. What this looks like is some kind of insurance fraud gone wrong. It looks like a conspiracy between several persons to obstruct justice. The resignations of both fire investigator Dennis Randall and his son Flora Fire Chief Adam Randall look extremely suspicious as well, seeing as the initial investigation was started by them and utterly botched. Then you have Ives, taking jurisdiction from the county to the state and resigning soon after once Delphi happened. There's no denying it. It's honestly sad to see such a beautiful family be destroyed by a terrible tragedy, to watch everybody but the victims win. And as long as the citizens there continue to accept the unqualified personnel running their county and state police, things like this will continue to happen. The roster of crooked politicians in Carroll County and the unbalanced economies of race in the area have left a stain on those involved. It isn't hard to see as an outsider. It's time Doug Carter restore confidence in him and his team by mending the damage that his statements caused. I ask him to publicly restore the name of surviving victim and mother Galen Rose. It's time to bring some people in for questioning instead of ignoring the elephant in the room. Thank you for watching.